All right. Well, hello. We had a little bit of a problem. I was able to figure this out on my own. Hey. So, want to say happy Valentine's Day to everyone here, to my TLC Health Freedom Tribe. This is Monday, February 14th, 2022, 6 o'clock. We have an hour to have nice talk back and forth, questions and answers, casual talk. This is where you talk with me. I'm a medical doctor in a integrative preventive functional medicine office. We do preventive medicine. And so, with that being said, the questions are general and the answers are generalized and not specific. We are not trying to treat people over the internet. If you are a patient here, please call the office at 714-544-1521 or text your question there. And then we will formally get that into your chart and address these. But this is for a conversation about health, preventative health, how we might be able to address the various problems that come to us in a general practice, family care kind of environment. Any questions are reasonable. So tonight, being Valentine's Day night, I hope everyone feels loved. I know I feel loved, and I couldn't be happier to know that my God so loved me that he gave his son to die for my sins. And so what better can be than I have a savior and I'm saved with an eternal perspective. That's all I need. Okay. So let's see. Harlow says, happy to see you are well. Yes, Harlow, I had a week ago, a little over a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago. I guess I felt achy and very fatigued, and then got a gastroenteritis, and then I really never got a cough or a fever or anything. But because of abundance of caution, I wanted to stay away from my patients and not have any coughing or runny nose around them. So I stayed home a few days. I missed one. I guess that was the midweek on a Wednesday, but I was there last week, Monday as well, and last Wednesday. But thank you for your prayers. I covet the prayers of my patients and friends because I know that everything I have, God has given me, and I want to do well. And this whole clinic, I wanted to do well and honor God and all that He has done, because each of you are so marvelously, fearfully, and wonderfully made. So I want to do the best I can at taking care of you. All right, so thank you, Harlow. Debbie S. says, Dr. Rita, does constant high stress in your life keep glucose levels up? I eat low carb and low sugar, intermittent fast, get sleep, exercise, but glucose won't go down. Thanks. Well, cortisol is a steroid. It is a steroid that your own adrenal glands make, and it is produced under stress. And it is a method to mobilize stored glycogen to wake you up in the morning and help you have available quick energy. It mobilizes it also from muscle tissue. And if you are under a lot of stress, I can see that this would be so. I wonder, Debbie S., if you have ever done a prolonged fast, meaning gone like 3 days without eating, doing a water fast only. If you're not an insulin-dependent diabetic, then that's the only way you can burn down the glucose that is in your liver, the glycogen, and in your muscle storage, and truly get everything cleaned out, so to say. If you have never done that, I would work up to it. Besides doing intermittent fasting, and I think I don't know, yeah, you said you're intermittent fasting, so you're skipping breakfasts. So you're eating roughly between noon and 6 p.m. And you're saying you're trying to be low carb. Why don't you try and skip a lunch also and go from dinner one night to dinner the next day, and do that once or twice a week. And if you can do that, then try and go and skip the dinner as well and wait till lunch the following day. So you'll have gone 36 hours, okay? And as that happens and you do that more, you can't help but, even if you're under stress, have your blood sugars improve. So there is a supplement. It's called TLC Metabolic Formula. In there, it is like metformin in that the berberine that's in this, along with alpha lipoic acid and vanadium and chromium and the like, these things help to mobilize and burn your sugar down. So TLC Metabolic Formula is something that would be helpful. 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, something like that. Drinking enough water, not eating late, and then try and push your window for fasting. But yes, cortisol does promote the elevation of glucose, and cortisol is a steroid that resists, fat loss, weight loss, and so forth, and blood sugar reductions. Harlow says, Dr. Rita, a testosterone level of 359 for a man in his 60s seems low. What can be done to raise the levels naturally? What should a doctor be prescribing? Now, it depends on the time of the year that blood sugar is drawn, because men have a biannual range in their testosterone. God has all the boy animals and men humans, and he brings their testosterone down to a lower level in the late winter and spring. And all the boy animals have a very low testosterone in the late winter and spring. And the reason is they don't want the animal boy, wolves and the boy bears to be eating the spring-born cubs and the little newborn babes of the animals. So God brings all the male testosterone down. And then all in the late spring, summer, mostly into the early fall, the testosterone rises greatly for both human men and animal boys in the world, so that it motivates with the testosterone impact for them to want to find a girl animal and impregnate her to keep the species going on. So a 359, this is a late fall, early spring number. It's a reasonable number. Now, when I was a young doctor back in the 70s, I started to see the testosterone levels, and they were much higher back then because there was less pollution, less electromagnetic energy waves, less carbs, less soda pop drinks, less fast foods, more work, more motion, more activity, more sports, and less light interruption with computers and the blue light. And so the lower carbs, the less pollution, the less electromagnetic, the more activity, the higher, the better the cells of the testicle Leydig cells were in producing testosterone. So I would say exercise stimulates this. Going to bed early stimulates this. Getting up early stimulates it. Shutting all the lights off, getting your computer shut off 2 hours before you go to bed. So maybe say 7:30 is the latest you'll allow a computer to be on, and get some blue light filters for your eyeglasses. I have it built into my prescriptions for my reading. Drink enough water. Take, I think, probably one of the best antioxidants out there to extend life and create resistance from oxidative damage to your cells and the testicular Leydig cells is Juice Plus. I would take vitamin D, and I would eat a healthy protein, fat, cholesterol, saturated fat rich diet, low in carbs, because your testosterone is made out of cholesterol. And all this foolish talk about being afraid of saturated fats and cholesterol and butter and egg yolks has harmed men. And I've watched the blood testosterone levels decline, so that I would say in the 70s, men's testosterone, the ranges back then, which were population averages, was 800 to 1600. Now the range is 250 to 750. So you can see how we're living in a much more polluted, light polluted, electromagnetic energy polluted, lack of good water consumption, exercise, heavy metals from the sky, these fake clouds full of the lead, the aluminum oxide, barium, strontium oxides dumping down. We're breathing it in. We are burning up with oxidative stress. That's why I like Juice Plus so much. And so that's what I would do. I would go from there. Now, if you're doing those things and your blood sugars are roughly 85 or less fasted, and your triglycerides are, say, 70 or less, and your hemoglobin A1C is 5.2 or so less, and your insulin is 3 or 4 or less, and your testosterone is still running low, I'll give you testosterone to use supplementally, which is fine as well. Harlow also goes on and says, a patient in his 60s has triglycerides of 164. That's way, way too high. A cholesterol LDL of 96, I don't really care what that is. HDL of 41, I really don't care. Hemoglobin A1C is 6.0. What does this say about his health? And what is the recommendation? Well, you can tell, Harlow, I said, you are eating more than your body needs in the form of starches, fruit, sugars, carbohydrates. Harlow, there are no daily requirements for carbohydrates. None, zero, nothing. There are daily requirements for fat and protein. We have no daily requirements for starchy foods. But starchy foods are cheap and can be modified and refigured and molded into various forms, and they taste pleasant through a sweet taste, and we are marketed them through advertising. They're sold by the tonnage throughout the state and the nation and the world through fast food restaurants, at gas stations, at clothing stores and everywhere. Think of all the junk candy everyone's going to eat on today for Valentine's Day. and we just had New Year's, and we just had Christmas, and we just had Thanksgiving. And before that, we had Labor Day. And before that, we had the 4th of July. And before that, we had Memorial Day. Before that, we had Resurrection Sunday, and before Resurrection Sunday, we had Valentine's Day, and then stick your anniversary and your birthday in there. There's enough to have a treat once a month, but we're in a marketed world that says you deserve a treat every day. So 164 on your triglycerides are way, way too high. I don't care what the ranges say on the lab ranges. They're just an average of sick, marketed Americans eating too much. That doesn't represent health. This then will make the blood sugar and the sticky hemoglobin A1C sticking to the protein in you, and that will inhibit the function of the cells. So that lowering that, the triglycerides, cut it in half. Fast more. Fasting will stimulate the testosterone production. Reducing the triglycerides will bring up the HDL. Exercise will accelerate this. And if you can get your triglycerides under 80 and your hemoglobin A1C closer to 5.2, I guarantee you, you're going to see your testosterone go up into the 500, 600, 700 range on its own. So those are the facts. I don't care what your total cholesterol is or your LDL cholesterol, because they're directly impacted by the amount of carbohydrates, starch, fruit, sugar, carbohydrates you eat every day through marketing and the social pressures. And that will then harm your cells, lower your testosterone, and the harmed cells will send out signals, and the liver will produce more cholesterol in an effort to try and repair the injured cell membranes. That's the facts. I don't care who I'm talking to, doctor, surgeon, scientist, we're right. This is correct advice. Susie says, hello, Dr. Rita. How many chelation IVs recommended for those that have vaccine remorse? Also, would it help to get a chelation IV before someone has the vaccine? I would say both before and after. We don't know exactly, Susie, because there isn't money for us to do this research. We do know that it inhibits EDTA chelation will help prevent clotting. EDTA chelation will help improve your immune system and microcirculation and detoxing. EDTA, the amino acid type molecule itself, is a negative charged molecule, and it would be attracted to the cation spike protein that is made by the vaccine. Your cells produce the vaccine generated spike protein, and so it will attract and it will become water soluble and carried out. What I would certainly say is we have seen it depends on your age, it depends on your weight, it depends on comorbidities, it depends on how much water you drink, it depends on whether you regularly exercise and if you eat late at night. It depends on the sticky sugars in you, and if you have use of systemic enzymes like Vitalzyme or Vascuzyme. If you're a generally healthy person and relatively young with no medical problems, and you take something like Vascuzyme or Vitalzyme on an empty stomach, these are systemic proteins. Take 4 or 5 once, or if you've had the vaccine, I would do it twice a day to prevent blood clotting. I would drink at least half my weight in pounds as ounces of water every day, if not 10% more. I would do some intermittent fasting, which stimulates repair and healing. I would avoid carbohydrates like the plague because they promote stickiness and blood clotting and inflammation. I would probably do chelation before a vaccine if you had to have it. I don't recommend it. And then I would do it afterwards immediately. I would try and do it even 2 days later, and then once a week until you can see your doctors. Get some blood tests like do a D-dimer, an HSCRP, a sedimentation rate, measuring your triglyceride, insulin, hemoglobin A1C, and fasting blood sugar. And then we could get an idea of how potentially susceptible you are to blood clotting, vascular damage, and so forth. So I don't have a number, Susie, to tell you in specifics, but indeed, I would certainly encourage you to kind of detox your body. I would do this before a IV, and then as soon as you could afterwards, a day or two later, and then once a week thereafter, and do that until you get your doctor to do a D-dimer to look for clotting. Let's see. Deanne Smith says, hi, Dr. Rita, happy Valentine's Day. Happy to you too also, Deanne. Deanne says, what is the distinguishing feature of COVID, the disease, versus a cold or allergies? I don't think there is a distinguishing feature. It is the COVID disease is a process, about 3 phases. The initial phase would be the fever, the chills, the aches. As a virus, SARS-CoV-2, like any viral cold or any coronavirus or any rhinovirus, would make you feel. And it is that period of time that the virus is trying to replicate That would be a period roughly 3 to 7 days, maybe as much as 10 days. That first phase is the optimal time to seek treatment, such as taking extra zinc, taking extra vitamin D, taking vitamin C, taking systemic anti-inflammatory, anti-clotting systemic enzymes, maybe getting on some ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, and possibly drinking lots of water. And then if after those few days you're not better, you should let your doctor know, because the next phase after the viral replication is done, then there's a decline in the amount of viral replications, and the next phase is the inflammatory phase of the SARS-CoV-2 disease called COVID-19. This inflammatory phase is where the spike protein will attach to the ACE receptors and other sites throughout the body, but especially the lung. And if I'm going to define a feature, it would be that it seems that the SARS-CoV-2, which we call COVID-19, the disease, seems to go into the deeper lung tissues quickly, rather than most colds are uptake by the nasal passages and throat, where you get this nasal congestion and sore throat first. So then if that happens, you have to be on steroids and anti-inflammatories. Well, the systemic enzymes like Vitalzyme and Proteozyme and Vascuzyme are all anti-inflammatories, and I would take as many as 10 3 times a day on an empty stomach. Drink lots of water. You might need other things like budesonide, which is an anti-inflammatory kind of steroid inhaler. You might need oral steroids such as prednisone or dexamethasone during that phase. And then you might need to have the added on antibiotic like Z-Pak or doxycycline as a broad spectrum antibiotic, because if you're starting to get inflamed in your lungs, the secondary bacterial infection could ensue. And then just tweaking that, I have had no one lose their life from it in these 2 years. We've had no one hospitalized. And so we have done quite well. But remember, we've always done the preventative. We have had everyone recommended to be on systemic enzymes, especially as we get older. We lose these enzymes that help prevent our bodily inflammation. We stress the water. We stress the low carb. A high carb diet suppresses the immune system. And of course, the obese diabetics with high blood pressure were at higher risk for the disease progression. We had always given a multivitamin that had zinc in it anyway. We had always told our patients to take the vitamin D. And so given that we were doing all these things preventatively, antioxidants, the vitamin C in the Juice Plus series, we had everyone in a very good state of health, no matter what their background. And I have quite a few cancer recovering patients. I have quite a few heart disease, chronic lung disease patients, cardiac patients, hypertensive patients, obese and diabetic patients, and yet all of mine did very well. So I'm so glad for the many doctors who have finally learned that prevention is much more worth it. And I'm glad they jumped on and started giving patients good advice finally and saved their lives. But I most of all thank God that I was already doing this, so that we really have had no problem at all. This hasn't been different than any other year of my life practicing medicine in 40 years. Carol Travis says, happy Valentine's Day. Back at you, Carol. Happy Valentine's Day. Dolores McConnell, happy Valentine's Day. And then sends a heart and prayers. Thank you. Harlow says, what is the cause of blood in the urine? Well, there shouldn't be blood in the urine. The number one thing we start thinking about is a bladder infection, or the older you get, and especially in men, we think about a kidney stone, or we think about a bladder cancer or a urinary tract cancer. So it is not good at all, Harlow, to have blood in your urine at all. If this is happening, you should be seen immediately by your doctor and have the cause found out. Don't make assumptions that it's just a bladder infection. Have a good exam history and a follow-up urine to make sure it goes away, and then again a month later, just to be sure that you are getting good follow-up on this. So no, there should be no blood in the urine. Trauma can do it if you injured yourself. People who are on anticoagulation medications can have this happen. Severe inflammation can do this as well. So you want to rule out infections, neoplasm cancers, stones, trauma, and the like. So please, if that is ever a concern, do not ignore it. Do go see your doctor right away or to urgent care. Okay. So Carol said, my husband has COVID. I think he had it for a while. Should I take ivermectin? I have the 15 milligram. Should I take as a prophylactic amount or the amount as if I have it? I have Immune D Protect. Well, Carol, I always say this venue is not for telling you how to be treated. This is a open general response. I think I know who you are. I'm not sure, but if you have a question like that, please turn that into a phone call tomorrow into the office here, where your name can be called up on your chart and everything. Our general advice is that if your immediate family member is ill and you have the ivermectin, I would take it preventatively and I would use it daily for a week. It sounds as if you've been around someone who's had it for a while. So every situation is unique. But if you have it, I would certainly protect myself by using it daily for a week as a good practice because it's so safe. Along with, of course, a healthy lifestyle, low carb, plenty of water, good night's sleep, good hand washing, and try not to drink or eat after your husband's cups or stuff like that. And then use your vitamin D, your your mineral zinc, and the Immune Protect has that all in it. So please, any specific issues, please call the office with it in specific so we can look that up in particular. Dolores McConnell says, I take HCl, hydrochloric acid, and I am going to be 70 years old. I have been bloated and gassy. Should I take anything else when I have meals? I believe that the general digestive enzymes, proteases, lipases, and the carbohydrate amylases should be taken. The item that we use, Dolores, here for, and I use, is orthodigestzyme. Orthodigestzyme has both hydrochloric acid along with the proteolytic enzymes, lipolytic enzymes for the fats, and the carbohydrates. And certainly I would add those to your regimen whenever you're eating, because the older we all get, and I'm about your age, our ability to secrete the acid and to secrete the digestive enzymes and the fat dissolving enzymes are diminished, just as all enzymes are diminished. And remember, there's two kinds of enzymes. The one you take when you eat to help your stomach chew up your food. And then there are enzymes we call systemic enzymes that we take each day, or I take it twice a day on an empty stomach so I don't get joint pain or anything. All right, so that's what I would do. It's called orthodigestzyme. We have others. There's Spectrazyme that's a little more powerful, but I think Orthodigestzyme is the best one out there. I've used it over 30 years. Harlow goes and says, do you recommend taking cholesterol prescriptions to lower triglycerides and cholesterol? I recommend natural, healthy lifestyle changes first. And so if a patient is not going to do anything personally responsible for their health, then I encourage them to see internal medicine doctors, cardiologists who will drug them, do invasive procedures and eventual surgeries and so forth, monitoring them because these people who won't take responsibility for the natural ways will develop disease and have problems. So that's my response there. I know that a low carbohydrate diet will, in fact, lower the total cholesterol and the LDL to wonderful safe ranges. I've been practicing 40 years. I have never been sued for a person having a heart attack or a problem cardiovascularly because I make it very clear with my patients if I determine they are not going to take personal responsibility for lifestyle changes, I ask them to see an internist who will just see them, drug them, invasively examine them, and they're out the door. But here we love our patients and we believe in them, and we believe that they will, in fact, be inspired to do more and more for themselves for the best. Dolores goes on to say, Harlow, it continues to go on and say, what is the name of the MRI test for detecting a breast implant leak? Well, it's an MRI of the breast. You would just say MRI of the breast. You could also probably determine some of that with a high quality ultrasound, but MRI of the breast would be what I would call it. Brian says, why does the pain come back after stop taking serrapeptase? Well, Brian, in general, serrapeptase, for those who don't know, is a systemic enzyme that is very valuable to help break down injured cells that are beyond repair, to get rid of that debris and the inflammatory response that an injured cell calls for. As we age, our production of systemic enzymes that do this every day and naturally, especially at night, diminishes, so that our house that we live in, our bodies, become older and more injured and repaired less optimally, and we have more and more damaged cells. Plus, we have all these pollutants and lousy diet, and we don't drink enough water and so forth. So if we take a systemic enzyme like Vitalzyme or Vascuzyme that has serrapeptase in it, serrapeptase plus the other enzymes are extremely good. We know serrapeptase is considered one of the most powerful proteolytic systemic enzyme anti-inflammatories out there. And if you stop taking it, then your rate of breakdown and repair stops, and you start building up the inflammatory molecules of injured cells, and the pain will return. So I am on Vitalzyme. I take 5, and I use them twice a day, morning and evening, all the days of my life for years. And I feel excellent. I feel like I have no pain anywhere in my body. And as I'm approaching 70 soon, I just am so grateful for this. If I don't take it for 2 or 3 days, I do start feeling more joint pain, more hip stiffness, and so forth. So hopefully that explains to you, Brian, why that is so. Brian has another question. What is the best systemic enzyme for the male reproductive system? I would say um, the same thing, serapeptase, in a combination with other good proteolytic enzymes that you find in Vascuzyme or Vitalzyme or Proteozyme. They're all very, very good. But nothing can replace exercise, a good night's sleep, and plenty of water, and a low carb diet and eating. We're made of protein and fat. Our cell membranes are 50% protein, 50% fat. Our cell membranes are not made of carbohydrates. So if you want to be the healthiest can be, don't eat late, exercise, drink half your weight in pounds as ounces every day, exercise, be low carb, and eat a healthy, rich, natural fat, saturated fat with plenty of proteins. Susie, thank you for your time, Dr. Rita. What is the difference between Vascuzyme and Vitalzyme? Vascuzyme is made by Orthomolecular, and I've used and worked with that company, Orthomolecular. They're a very good company. They have high moral integrity. I'm a Christian, and the leadership, the owner of Orthomolecular, is a Christian. So there's an ethos to the quality, and being a major in chemistry, biochemistry, minor, when I went out to their site where they produce these things, I've been out to the plant in Wisconsin a couple of times. I know how to look on their quality assurance, their sampling and stuff for, because I did analytical chemistry and everything, and I know where to ask and what to look at. So they know that I know what I'm talking about in quality. And Vascuzyme was always a good product, but it didn't have serapeptase in it for quite a while. So they talked with me about it, and they were able to secure serapeptase and add it to Vascuzyme. I don't think there's as much as in the Vitalzyme. Vitalzyme is manufactured in Japan, and it is in Japan a prescription product by physicians only. So it is a manufactured pharmaceutical in Japan, Vitalzyme, and it's more expensive. So I asked Orthomolecular if they could please help develop with me Vascuzyme that was enhanced with serapeptase, and they did this. And now the world has Vascuzyme with it, which is much more affordable. I am going to say I believe it's probably just as good. And I'll tell you the reason why I am using the Vitalzyme is because I can afford it. And number two, the Vitalzymes are very, very small. And I take so many capsules. I am trying to conserve the volume of capsules I do, the size of them. I get fatigued too from taking so many vitamins every day. And that's why I prefer the tinier Vitalzyme. But I think Vascuzyme is excellent. It's cheaper, and it has everything in it as well. So I'd be very happy with the Vascuzyme. Then the next thing is Damien. Damien says, blessings, Dr. Iggy. Can you explain the type of vitamin C in your Vitality C powder? And is it okay to have a scoop every night with water before bedtime? Yes, the Vitality C that we have here is, let me go ahead and get it so I don't make a mistake. The Vitality C here is the L-ascorbate C crystals and there's ribose in it, and so this is a type of ribose is a 5 carbon sugar. L-ascorbate is a configurational type of vitamin C, which is we like the L form, we don't like the D form. So it's a very high quality, and it's mixed in with the dimer form that it exists in, and with the ribose for excellent delivery and flavor. I think you can use it all the time. I certainly use it very often. I don't use it every day. Why don't I use it every day? Because I'm on Juice Plus, and because I take the TLC Energy Core, and I take extra alpha lipoic acid in the form of Tlc Metabolic Formula. I take NAC and glutathione. So I'm on quite a few antioxidants already, and Juice Plus has the vitamin C in it. So the vitamin C that we have in the powder is certainly okay to take a scoop every night. I have no problem with that. You're not going to build up or harm anything. It's high quality. I do like taking half my dose of Juice Plus at night, so that when I'm asleep, I'm having antioxidants help clear up debris from repair that's going on during my sleep. This Vitality C is another wonderful antioxidant way to help clear up the free radical damage from the cleaning up of during repair that's going on at night. Let's see. M. Sanchez, 1611. Do you recommend any vitamin D brands? Well, I have to say I recommend the ones M. Sanchez 1611 by what I've tested. And so I have here the orthomolecular products, and they're a high quality, high moral integrity company. So I use their vitamin D3 series with K2. I also manufacture my own because I like higher dosing. And so I have my own brand here called TLC Vitamin D, D3 with K2. And then Orthomolecular has the liquid form in the dropper with either a 1,000 international unit or the 2,000 international unit per drop. So those are what the brands that I use. And I have to do that because there is no company that does quality assurance testing and clinical testing. So I have to do it myself here. M. Sanchez 1611 also says, have you ever heard of megadosing vitamin D to 40,000 to increase testosterone? No, I have not. I have not ever heard of that. Megadosing, we have the vitamin D 50,000 in one capsule. And if you become ill, we say take one a day for 5 days only to get a big buildup of that vitamin D. So, no, I have never seen that correlation. I'm going to make myself a note and see if I can find any research on high dose vitamin D, 40,000 international units, and increasing testosterone levels. Vitamin D is dependent on cholesterol in your diet, and it is a conversion done with the ultraviolet light in the skin, and then that is then worked on by the kidney, and these various steps then make the active form of vitamin D, 125 hydroxyvitamin D, cholecalciferol. So, I'm trying to think of my biochemistry, how it would make testosterone go up. I know testosterone comes from cholesterol, and so I could see biochemically a potential where maybe some excess vitamin D is not used in the immune, and then maybe there might be a pathway to convert it back to testosterone. I'll have to look at that. Give me a week to look on this, and then I'll say this was the Monday night, and you were M. Sanchez, 1611. So I've got it listed here, M. Sanchez. I'll do my biochemistry research for you on that. Alrighty. Let's see what's next. Ryan B., what do you think about Paradigm? I don't know that name of that company, Brian. It could be that they're very good. But you see, we are dealing with, in my opinion, an international crime syndicate called the healthcare system, and it's not health and it's not caring. It's the pharmaceutical crime syndicate. And so there's tons of money, and unfortunately, Fauci sits on the golden nest egg for research, and he directs research to self-interest and corporations in the crime syndicate. We should have much income to try and do this natural research, but it doesn't make anybody money. It doesn't make a doctor the tons of dollars that you would make if you're an end-stage doctor. Let's say you're a surgeon, you're a ophthalmologist, you're an orthopedic, and you're fixing all the destroyed joints and the vision destruction and the heart disease and all the cardiac. And so you're going to make tons of money doing that, at least currently. But if you stay as a anti-aging, preventative, inspiring, educating doctor and only seeing 8 people, 10 people a day as opposed to 40, you're never going to make money doing this. So how can we have the time or the income to develop testing for all these products? And you can become a test, an N of 1, and we can track you and see if that product is doing what we hope it's doing. But we have a corrupt system, and the focus is misdirected to the love of money, which is one of the sins. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. So I hope Paradigm is good. We can test it if you're seen by a good doctor. They know how to test and follow you and see if it's a reliable product. Karen D., I have been taking 2 each of Vitalzyme and Vascuzyme morning and night. Very good, blending them to get a little bit of savings that way. Very good. Trying to get more, but keep the cost down. Yes, excellent. Is that okay? It's absolutely fine, Karen D. Also, what is the TLC Metabolic Formula for? TLC Metabolic Formula helps you burn your sugar down. As we all age, we move toward diabetes, and blood sugar metabolism healthfully diminishes. So the alpha-lipoic acid in it, the berberine, and that's what they made metformin after. So they copycat nature, and they try and make a drug to control all the profits on it. So berberine is in it, vanadium, chromium. And so we just use the natural products the way God made them, and we put it in there, and this helps you metabolize your sugar. There's also then, of course, the argument metformin, they find, seems to have some value to help prevent cancer or manage the recurrence of cancer. But we know that that's because of sugar metabolism being under control, and the insulin hormone that carbohydrates, fruit sugars, and starches elicit when you eat them. You'll stimulate a lot of insulin, and that will promote fat growth, thickening of your blood vessel, intima lining, and heart disease, high blood pressure, and it'll promote the growth of tumors. All right, so I'm proud of you, Karen, for doing that. That's a wonderful way to do it. Brian B. says, I eat a lot of rice, mackerel, and fruits. Any recommendations to add for overall healthy body and mind? Well, fruits and rice will give you energy, and they contain some micronutrients in them. But a grass-fed steak, um, um, clams, mackerel, fish, chicken with the skin on it, organic, wild, free range, all of these will have all the minerals and nutrients as well. The rice has a high carb index to it, a glycemic index. Fruit has the fructose. And if you watch the video called Sugar, the Bitter Truth, you'll see how we have been so insulted with high fructose corn syrup. It is so cancer promoting, uh, oxalic acid, gout enhancing, uh, liver disease enhancing, um, liver destroying. So the fructose of these fruit sugars is so prevalent in society. Eating a fruit for the nutrients is really like, washing your body and spraying some dirt under your armpits. It's like fructose is everywhere. And then they have about 56 different names for high fructose corn syrup, so that you can't even figure out. It's such a international crime syndicate, the whole system. So I would be cautious with fruits. If I had fruit, the only fruit I would have would be the berries, like strawberry, blueberry, raspberry, blackberry. I wouldn't eat the big, sugary, fleshy fruits because of the fructose. But please watch Sugar, the Bitter Truth and learn. Don't take my word for it. Learn how corrupt the system is. And I'm happy about the mackerel. But I see no problem whatsoever with free-range chicken, eating the skin with it, grass-fed beef, even pork, free-range animals like that. Of course, vegetables, the vegetables I would eat would be broccoli, Brussels sprouts, green beans, asparagus, spinach, the more leafy, fibrous, low-carb component. Why? Because we're in a very high-carb pimping society. If I was practicing medicine in Somalia, the Sudan, other very, very poor countries, then then I would not be worried so much about them eating cooked carrots, cooked peas, cooked corn, cooked rice, because they're not getting enough calories in total, let alone good nutrition. But here in America, we are doing such weird things because of the corrupt system, the criminal crime syndicate. They're twisting all the information, and they're taking something very simple and making it very hard. And that's largely because they don't want you to know how healthy it is to do intermittent fasting, a prolonged fast periodically, water, exercise, not eating late at night, not watching a screen video late at night, and shutting the lights off, electromagnetic energy. And that's a whole another field there. M. Sanchez, 1611. Yes, I would love to know. I'll ask you at church. Oh, okay. All right. Very good. I'll see you there on Thursday. I usually try and go Thursdays and Sunday mornings. But I don't recall who you are, so you'll have to identify yourself. Let's see. So I better check out that testosterone thing and vitamin D, 40,000 units before I get there, so I have the information. Okay, Brian, let's see. EH, hello, doctor. What would you think about applying clobetasol for eczema and cracked feet? It's a strong topical steroid. Is it okay for short term? Yeah, it's okay for short term. But again, what I would strongly tell you is what is your blood type? How much healthy fats are you eating, and essential critical fats? Because your cell membrane itself is a double lipid. These are the phospholipids and proteins, and some of the very essential human fatty acids, linoleic and alpha-linolenic acid, are the very things that are destroyed with all this processing. so that you break down too easily. So I'm approaching 70. I have no calluses. I have no problem with skin buildup, no skin tags, because I'm always trying to take my clinician's preference oil, both either capsule or this. Plus, I'm trying to eat the skin of the chicken, grass fed. I'm trying to eat the fat with my beef. So I'm getting in all those healthy fats. And then I take digestive enzymes. You might be a blood type A person who's not digesting well. You might be clogging the capillaries to your skin down there with a high carb diet. And so they're dying at a faster rate than they should and piling up. Carol Travis, what do you think of dandelions? They are actually a very good, they have a realm of medicinal values, even in eating them. So I like dandelions. So Google dandelions, and there are many medicinal values. I don't see any problem with dandelions. Dorothy Go says, can I fast when I am working out 5 days a week strenuously? Well, it depends. Everything depends. So I work 6 days a week. I have my workout with Pilates twice a week for an hour. I try and do my walk or my kickboxing or something like that another hour, and then some other random activities or walks in between. And I can absolutely not eat at all for 5 days, but I've worked up to it. So I would start out by just skipping breakfasts. And if you do well and tolerate that well, Dorothy, then you can try skipping a lunch once a week, going from dinner the night before to dinner the next day, keeping all your activities the same. And if you tolerate that well, Dorothy, then you could always do your breakfast skipping and add in a full 24-hour fast once a week or twice a week. So just try and build into it and see what your tolerance level is. Brian B says, what about pineapples and oranges? Pineapples and oranges are very rich in fructose because that's the meaty, that's the pulp, all that sugary stuff. And I'm not saying they're wrong to eat per se. If your triglycerides are good, say roughly 75, 50 range or less, if your hemoglobin A1C is 5.2 or less, if your fasting blood sugar is 80, 85 or less, if your fasting insulin is 3 or less, then you can have pineapples and oranges occasionally. But learn about high fructose corn syrup, learn about fructose that's in these fleshy fruits, and be cautious with it and get a fructosamine level. Have your doctor do a fructosamine level, and that'll tell you how much is sticking to your proteins. And that's an irreversible reaction. A hemoglobin A1C sticks, but the day you stop so many carbs, it comes off immediately the very next day. A fructosamine reaction is irreversible. It's stuck there forever and ruins the function of that protein. That's why it's so damning. And that's why we're seeing so many liver transplants in adolescents today, because of all the Cokes and orange juice and sugar, high fructose corn syrup crap they've had. Let's see, M. Sanchez 1611. I'm the Sunday morning songwriter. Oh, okay. All right. So there you go. So I know who you are. Praise the Lord. Okay. Brian M., do you recommend essential oils internally? Yes. Well, essential oils have to be taken internally because they're essential to life. And the only two are linoleic and alpha-linolenic acid. So you have to use those. Yes. Now, you're going to hear people talk foolishly about EPA and DHA. You're listening to uninformed, misinformed, incorrectly trained healthcare providers. There are only two essential fatty acids in a human being, and that's linoleic and alpha-linolenic acid, period, end of story. and you have to take them internally. Karen D, how much clinician's oil daily do you recommend? I take a half teaspoon of the liquid if I have the liquid twice a day. And if I'm using the capsules, I use 4 capsules a day. All right, Karen and everyone, my TLC Health Freedom Tribe, we praise the Lord, and we need to stay well, and we need to take care of these bodies our Lord has given us. We're fearfully and wonderfully made, and we need to be an example, and we need to inspire our family and our friends. And with good understanding of self-discipline, how to deny yourself all these treats and carbs, you too should become stronger immunologically and healthier hormonally and in all respects. So remember, Job chapter 23, verse 12 says, I esteem the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. So we're to live by the word of God, not by what we eat. Therefore, we have to take responsibility for ourselves, and we have to learn the truth on so many levels and help our dear friends, our dear families. So I say happy Valentine's Day. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, to die for your sins. And I certainly needed my sins paid for. I couldn't have paid for my sins at all. So I thank it. All right, Brian B., thank you. God bless you. And you all take care. And Wednesday at 9:45 in the morning, I'll do a half hour. And then the next Monday at 6 to 7 p.m. Okay, God bless. Good night, everyone.